Well, hi everybody. Welcome to the MenoLounge. We've got a special episode this week. I have been waiting for this OMG to share this with you guys, to share Dr. Christine with you guys. I have been waiting because gut health, I kind of think now is everything. So we've got a very, very special guest here today, Dr. Christine Bishara. You can see, you know when I start tripping over my words, I'm fangirling. Hi, everybody. Stand by. I'm going to bring up Dr. Christine. I'm hoping she's here somewhere. Let's see. This is going to be such an important conversation, so stay tuned. Do not go away. You are not going to want to miss this. Let's see. All right, Dr. Christine. This is always the fun part of having doctors on because you never know where they are. All right, I'm looking for you, Dr. Christine. So while we wait for her to join us, here we go. Okay, got it. I see her. Here she comes. Keep joining, everybody. This is going to be spectacular. There you are. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Happy New Year. I've already been waving your book around all the dog-eared pages and just saying how excited I have been waiting for this conversation to share you with the MenoWell community. Welcome, Dr. Christine Bishara.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
So glad to have you. I guess we should just jump right in. I'm so excited today. I keep tripping over my words, but
how's the weather where you are?
How's the weather? Bring me down. It's gorgeous here in the San Francisco Bay Area. How about you?
Today is not so bad. We're in New York, but we're expecting a big storm this weekend actually. So we'll see.
I saw that. I'm watching because I'm coming out to Manhattan on the 29th for the M Factor 2 screening. So I'm like, oh, it could be interesting, but
hopefully the weather will be better when you come.
That's what I'm hoping too. But Speaking of New York, you have been an integrative MD for 30 years in the New York area, but you work with patients worldwide, globally, because you're globally renowned as a gut health expert with your #1 book, The Gut Health Revolution. Wow. I mean, it's been a crazy busy holiday, but I have just tried to sneak in pages every time I could because this is so accessible, so interesting. And, I don't think we really understand the gut health connection between immunity, weight management, mental health. I think all the healths could be connected to the gut. So can we jump in and share the goodness?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I think a lot of people dismiss gut health as the most important factor in your health. And I think COVID was a really big wake-up call for a lot of people. And this is where I think people started to see, gut health really does make a difference, because we saw children with good gut health survived COVID a lot better than a lot of adults did. So yeah, my mission basically in life is to just teach people about the gut and the importance of it.
So important. And I know when we talked about how COVID, there was this sort of big aha moment about the certain gut bacteria really making the difference with a lot of people on how well they did with COVID or didn't do with COVID. And not to drag on and on about COVID, but I think there's some important learnings there. Do you want to share anything that surfaced?
I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, it's crazy to think about it, but we have more of these bacteria and organisms in our gut than we have human cells, or at least a little bit more than 50%. So, and they control a lot of things. They control our immune system, they control our weight, they control our mental health, believe it or not. So what we saw in COVID was there was this protective factor in children, and it's because their body is equipped with a lot more of this one bacteria, bifidobacteria. It's kind of like God or nature's gift to children when they're born and still developing their immune system. And what it does is it helps to prime the immune system. It helps to just kind of strengthen the immune system and get all these really important immune factors kind of set up. And in children, they have a lot more of it. And believe it or not, COVID actually affected the same pathways that this bacteria kind of regulates. So we saw this over and over with a lot of people who got really sick. They were unfortunately either had no bifidobacteria or had very low levels. And I think the big picture post-COVID is we as adults and as humans are really losing our bifidobacteria, and it's because of the, sorry about the noise in the background, that's New York
Must
City
be New
Police.
York, right? And can you spell the
Yeah,
bacteria so we can really,
yes,
if people want to research further, what
sure,
you mean?
yeah. Yeah, it's bifido, so bifido bacteria. And and believe it or not, it was actually discovered like 100 years ago by a scientist who found that it was a fountain of youth and was recommending to everybody eat yogurt or eat a lot of foods that are fermented, and it kind of just like died out and people didn't really pay attention. So it's definitely, it's something that's not new. But what we are starting to see is that there are a lot of links to deficiencies in this bacteria to chronic health problems. And, you know, as I was mentioning, we're unfortunately losing a lot of the bacteria. Even kids now don't have as much as they used to have. And I think a lot of it has to do with the diet, what we're consuming. Unfortunately, the garbage in our food really kind of affects our gut. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, we're going to dive in more. But you said fountain of youth, and of course, we're talking to menopausal women here. So let's
Yes.
talk about that. And so
Yeah.
how is the gut the fountain of youth, and how does it shift maybe during the menopausal transition, perimenopause to post?
Right. So besides bifidobacteria, the other fountain of youth, or at least for females, is estrogen. And a lot of people say like estrogen is either the angel of life or the angel of death. And it's kind of one of those things where like too much of a good thing, or different types of estrogen can be either good or bad. And I think people don't realize, or at least women don't realize, that we're protected while we're in our reproductive age. And unfortunately, menopause kind of shifts not only our health, but our gut microbiome. And when we lose that estrogen, we have to remember that estrogen is very anti-inflammatory. And this is a reason why a lot of women don't get heart disease when they're younger and in their reproductive ages, because it is anti-inflammatory and it is protective. And so when we lose that estrogen, we start to lose it, and it starts to affect our joints, right? Because it's anti-inflammatory in our joints, it's anti-inflammatory in our heart arteries, it's anti-inflammatory in our gut. And since the gut is kind of the mother lode, we start to develop more inflammation in the gut. And during menopause, our gut microbiome starts to actually resemble men a little bit more, like a male microbiome.
Right, because
And
we have as much estrogen as a man, right?
yeah,
Basically.
well, and we don't have that protective factor
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, and so this is where, as women, we probably can't really get away with a lot more than we used to be able to get away with. So we definitely have to eat a lot more fiber, because fiber is what feeds those bacteria. And those bacteria, like I said, are doing all these functions for us. They're doing amazing things. So we feed them well, they produce really good products. And so that's really what I teach women is, yes, you could take hormone replacement therapy, bioidentical, which I'm a big proponent of also, but you also need to feed those guys a little bit better now. Like we can't get away with what we used to be able to get away with.
Right.
And they like vegetables. They like plant-based fibers. So we have to feed them what they like so that they can multiply and produce products for us.
I love that. And I'm right there with you, because yes, hormone therapy, it's not for everybody, but I say try it if you can, if it works in your
Yeah.
situation. But like all tools in the toolbox for menopause, perimenopause, it's just one piece, and we have to take care of our nutrition and our gut health. And fiber is such a direct path, and plants are just such a direct path, or plant-based foods, minimally processed or whole, whole first, minimally processed after that. Really, really huge. And so let's dive into fiber a little bit more, because there's different kinds of fiber, and are all fibers good? Do all fibers support the gut, or do you have some other thoughts based on your
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an individual thing. If you're able to tolerate all fiber, then yeah, all fiber is great, because it's something that we aren't able to digest, right? So goes out in the stool, fiber.
Right.
And that's what bulks up the stool, and it helps prevent colon cancer, and it kind of helps everything stay regular. You're right. There are different types of fiber. I'll talk about the ones that kind of our gut bacteria really like. So there's resistant starch, which is a big favorite of our gut bacteria, and that's in like sweet potatoes or in like bananas, for example. That's resistant starch. And then
Greenish bananas, right?
greenish bananas. Although honestly, like I'm fine with the yellow bananas too. I mean, their glycemic index is a little bit higher, so if you're diabetic, just be careful. But I'd rather you get fiber from a banana than have like a candy or cake. So if you need that, it's fine.
You need some
Um,
sweet, yeah.
yeah, and the glucose response is different with fiber, even fruits that are sweet, right? It takes
Mm-hmm.
a little bit longer for that glucose spike and that insulin spike to go up. So definitely, like fruit-based sweets are better than just plain sugar sweets. But inulin is another really good fiber that I would probably say it's like the favorite food of our gut bacteria, especially bifidobacteria, which we just talked about.
Right.
They love inulin-based plants.
Right.
And the ones that are common are artichokes are really high in inulin, asparagus, onions, garlic. So just make sure that you're getting those types of fibers at least 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some people don't tolerate certain types of fiber a little bit less than others. So it's kind of an individual thing based on how you respond
Yeah.
and what your body reacts to.
And building up, right? We have chicory
Yes.
root in MenoWell bars, and some women are great, and others are like, "Oh, that's a lot of fiber." So try half. Let your body adjust.
Right, and I'm so glad you mentioned chicory root because I always mention chicory root, and people are like, "I don't know where to find that," but I didn't realize even that it's in your MenoWell bars. So
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yeah, it's actually the best source of inulin.
Yeah.
But you're right, and this is actually something that I'm glad you brought up because a lot of people say, "Well, I can't really tolerate vegetables. I get bloating and
Yeah.
flatulence or whatever." And I say it's really more of a buildup. It depends on how much damage has been caused to your microbiome over the years. And so it's just kind of a slow introduction. It's not 0 to 360. It's introduce one plant-based fiber a day and see how you tolerate it. And I always suggest that when you're first starting out with like a change in your diet is make a food log. Kind of just write a little like daily diary. And then keep an eye on what you respond to. And then you can always reintroduce it again at another time. But yeah, slowly is better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love
yeah.
that. And find the things that you really like, and then double down on those. I know we want to have as many, over 30 different plants, herbs, color, all those good things. That makes our gut really happy, right?
Yes.
But there's certain things we do like, and so if you're like me and you've got broccoli on auto repeat, that's not 30 all the time, but at least that's a good one to have on the regular. So fine with you.
Yeah, it seems like 30 is a magic number from what the studies have shown in terms of gut diversity, which we have seen now is really the like health factor for
Yeah.
how healthy our gut is, like how diverse the organisms are.
Yeah.
And you were saying like it's about like what we like to eat, but I also say it's about what they like to eat.
Yes,
So,
that's
for example, right, like bifidobacteria love inulin, but then other bacteria like Akkermansia, for example, they love like apples, especially with the skins on them, or cranberries. And another type of bacteria, they love mango, and another type of bacteria love broccoli. So, so that's why it's important to kind of diversify. So when you go to the grocery store, just really pick a variety, like a rainbow, and introduce a little bit at a time. And like I said, just if you're a little bit more sensitive, keep a food log and see what irritates you and what doesn't, and stay with what you respond well to, and then slowly introduce the others. So
yeah.
it's kind of like it's like building a corporation in that gut microbiome of all these like really good employees that are going to work well together. And in the beginning, they may not work as well together, and then you kind of get to know one another, and everybody's happy. So yeah.
I like that. Great analogy. And Barb on our team, who's our clinical nutritionist, says herbs count too, right?
Yes, absolutely. We've seen actually herbs such as like even turmeric or pepper, really
Cinnamon.
ginger, cinnamon. Cinnamon's really good for lowering blood glucose. So sprinkle those on. I mean, I honestly, I'll be honest, like who likes to eat vegetables plain and raw, right? Like they're not that tasty. So what I do is I douse them in herbs, different herbs, parsley, whatever I have, garlic powder, and they taste really good. And then your body starts to actually crave that stuff, believe
Yeah,
it or not.
I find
So
that too.
yeah,
Hmm. If I go too long, or if I'm so focused, and I'm going to take a sideways for a minute because I know what you talk about as a healthy plate of, and 2 meals a day and an intentional snack is what you advise. And having animal protein is great, but not going too crazy, which is kind of, we're such a protein crazed world, especially
yeah,
midlife, building,
right.
maintaining muscle. So I wanted to see what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are on the protein craze, especially for women. And I mean, yes, obviously we need protein, but I guess I'm not as crazy as like all the other health freaks about. I think people tend to now focus too much on how much protein they're getting in. And in my opinion, fiber is more important than protein. So obviously eat the protein, but don't focus so much where you're constantly counting the protein that you're taking in. Because at the end of the day, if you're building muscle, if you're working out and lifting weights and eating a very varied diet that has a little bit of protein and a lot of fiber, it's fine. Most people are getting enough protein unless they're underweight or really kind of restricting. You're getting enough protein in a lot of the foods. Like if you're eating, a little protein with like, for example, a lunch, you're having a piece of chicken or a can of tuna or whatever it is with fiber. And a lot of times the plants have protein too.
Hmm.
I just don't want people to focus too much on the protein because it's not necessarily needed.
Yeah, it's that's very controversial. We're going
It
with
is
that.
very controversial. I'll probably get some comments or people will say to me, whatever. But uh,
But you
five.
got
If
to
I had to choose between fiber and protein, I'm picking fiber. So
look at that.
both are
Go with your
important.
gut. No
Yes,
pun intended. But
yes,
go with
both are
it.
important. And we saw this, right? Like we see this with the carnivore diet, right? Which, by the way, our carnivore like ancestors, the carnivores, right? They actually didn't eat what we think they ate. We've done teeth studies. Like there have been several studies that have kind of been downplayed, but there have been a lot of studies looking at teeth analysis of the ancestors that we thought ate only meat, and they found that actually no, they ate a lot of plants. They foraged, right, whatever they found in season. So this was a lot of plants in season, berries, whatever they found, right?
Mhm.
And then the occasional hunt where they found, whatever they found, a cow or fish or whatever they found, was occasional. It wasn't on a daily basis, right? You're not hunting and catching every single day and eating that. And we see
Mhm.
that, again, this is controversial, but we see that with the microbiome of people who eat only keto or high fat, high protein, all the time, is their microbiome does start to shift. We start to see more of certain bacteria, which in small numbers are fine, but in
Mhm.
large numbers actually increase the incidence of colon cancer.
Mhm.
So I think what a lot of people feel about ketosis and those kind of diets that induce ketosis is great. It's a great thing for your body, burning ketones, right? It's burning fat, fueling your cells with ketones. But what we really need to realize is we can achieve ketosis through different methods, including intermittent fasting, instead of just a high keto diet. So that's really what I like to stress, and what I've kind of stressed in the book is, yes,
Mhm.
ketosis is great. I'm not arguing that.
Mhm.
But ketosis from a very high fat, high protein diet over a sustained period is really going to do harm to your gut eventually. So if
Especially
you're
in
going to do it
midlife.
as a kickstart, do it as a kickstart to lose weight, 1 or 2 months, it's fine. But your microbiome will start to shift, and then you're increasing your risk. So that fiber is really important.
Okay, so interesting. So you feel that, especially because that's another reason why women love fasting and keto, is because we know carbohydrates hold on to water in the body. And so when we don't have as many carbs, we shed all of that stuff, water, mostly liquid. And so, oh, we feel better, but we still maybe have the same body fat composition. That's why data is, I think, is so important, because that way we can track our muscle to make sure we're not losing muscle mass, but we don't have to overeat protein in. when
Well,
we're
yeah,
eating
and
our
too much
fiber and
protein
all
is
the
not good
things.
either.
It's
Absolutely.
exhausting though, I have to
It really
say.
is, and that's really what I'm trying to teach everyone, and kind of why I really just wanted to write the book, because there was so much misinformation out there, and I think people are looking to improve their health, but they feel overwhelmed with all the information. And what I say is, the intention of your body is to survive and thrive, and it's really not that complicated, right? You kind of just have to feed it what it naturally wants to eat. And again, you have to look at the bacteria in your gut and feed them. But carbs are not the enemy either.
Right.
You just have
Right.
to choose healthy carbs. And if you want the unhealthy carbs every once in a while, also, it's fine. But again, with intermittent fasting, is what you're doing is you're eating the healthy carbs during a restricted time period, right? And then when your body kind of runs out of those carbs, it has backup plans. It has like I call it plan B and C, where it starts to burn products in our body to fuel cells. And so that's where we start losing the weight and not being as bloated. So you run out of carbs when you're not eating foods with carbs, but then your liver has backup carbs.
Right. It knows how to make carbs, right?
It knows how to make carb. It already actually has stored carbs, like in the form of glycogen, which turns into glucose that we feed our cells with. But that doesn't happen until our body's kind of like in survival or desperation mode. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, if we're eating all day, that's easy for our body, right? Like, it's getting a constant surge of fuel. But we don't want to make things easy for our body all the time. We want it to work a little bit harder. And so that's why, again, restricting your eating times is really important, because when you're restricting the eating, you eat carbs or whatever protein during that time, and then you rest your gut, which is really important because it has to work on other functions. And while your gut is resting, your liver is now burning glycogen, and that glycogen is used as fuel. But that doesn't happen for at least like 6 to 8 hours after we stop eating, right?
Okay.
So,
So
so
a
then
eating window of 8
there's
hours, 10
eating
hours,
window of 6 to 8 hours is what I think is ideal,
six
because
to eight.
that's when all the secondary mechanisms kick in. So the secondary mechanism of this glycogen burning kicks in at around, like I said, 6. Some people it's 8 hours, some people it's 10. Usually by 10 to 12 hours, you're done burning glycogen. And then your body is now completely lacking carbohydrates right from eating. It's lacking the glycogen, and now it's a little bit desperate, but you want it to be desperate. You want it to work harder. And so what it does is it starts to burn fat cells, right? So that's what it does. That's the like plan C that I call it. And it starts to burn fat, and that turns into ketones. And I try to say ketones is like when you're fueling your nice car with like unleaded gasoline versus premium, right? Premium is just has like a little bit of better fuel. That's kind of the same comparison between glucose and ketones as fuel. Ketones is just, it's a pure form of fuel for your cells, especially your brain cells.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that doesn't kick in until about 14 hours after you stop eating. So this is really where,
So that's
like,
a
when you wake up,
16-8 window then, right? About
16, yes. So some people start to burn fat at around 14 hours. Some start to burn fat at 16. Usually at around 16 to 18 hours, most people are burning fat. And so when you're burning fat, it's great. It's a great feeling. And if you can go a little bit longer, you can. But my suggestion is, since we're talking about women in menopause, is men are built differently from women. They can go a little bit longer. So men who do like once a day OMAD, where they're just eating like once in a 24-hour period, they can probably sustain that and handle that. I think for women, especially during like fertile periods of their life, we're built differently, and our body responds to us getting fuel. So I would say, like, if you're going to do it 16 to 18 hours, not longer than that. But if you want to kind of just spring clean your cells every once in a while, I recommend 24-hour fast, like once a month, which is like, that 24 hours then starts to kick into, it's like a renewal of cells. Like, your body now has burned all that fat, and now it's looking at cells and saying, I really need to fuel them, but I don't have enough reserve. So you know what? That cell looks a little bit old. Let me get rid of that. It's kind of like putting your phone in a little battery. Like, that cell looks a little dysfunctional. Let me get rid of that too. And this is where we get the benefits, immune benefits, but also like the cancer prevention benefits from fasting, is that our body kind of kicks into this like inventory search, where it's really getting rid of old and not necessarily needed cells, and keeping the energy that it needs just for these like vibrant new cells. So
Oh, there's so much good stuff in there.
It's in a
Okay, so
nutshell, yeah.
so for weight loss, let's put a bow on this weight loss, and then I want to poke over and talk a little bit about cancer, which no one wants to talk about, but I know it's something that you talk about in the book that's really important. I want to share that.
Yeah.
Um, so weight loss for women in menopause,
Yeah.
intermittent fasting, full 24-hour, maybe once a month or so for a reset.
Yeah.
Give us
So,
the like quick, the one,
yes.
two, three.
And I kind of want to like mention that, you know, that struggle where you feel like I can't get away with what I used to be able to eat before menopause. It's not a myth. It's not in your head. Like we do definitely our metabolism starts to lower and our gut microbiome changes, like I mentioned, and that kind of contributes a little bit to that like resistance of weight loss. But then over the years, we also lose muscle. So then it just becomes a little bit more difficult. So you really have to kind of like eat a little bit cleaner during menopause, eat a little bit more fiber because, again, you want to really support the gut. And then, you know, you want to also, if you need to replenish your hormones that are you're depleted in, like estrogen and progesterone, then you can take hormone replacement therapy. What was your question about, like specifically with weight loss?
Well, just, women statistically gain
Yes.
around
Yes.
9, 10 pounds, and we know that the weight redistributes. So now it's sitting around the belly, like the most
Yes.
uncomfortable spot. And
Yes.
so how do we shed some of that without creating stress in the body, like,
Right.
OMAD, one meal a
Right.
day, but using your principles.
I think you're right. And so and the important thing is like our risk again, because the estrogen has been so protective, our risk does go up. So you see breast cancer more commonly in women. But a lot of times because of the weight gain that we have, certain types of fat turn into certain types of estrogen. And that's like the not so beneficial estrogen. And so this is where we see like a little bit of that increased risk. So the way to avoid that is you're going to unfortunately have to eat less than you used to eat, but not restricting completely. You're just going to have to eat differently and restrict your eating times because you want your body to tap into the glycogen burning and the fat burning. Because if it does tap into that, then you're getting rid of the excess weight, right, that you have, and you're getting rid of that inflammation in your gut, which is really also important. Because when your gut is constantly working on digestion, right, 24/7, a lot of other mechanisms that it needs to do are getting backed up. And so
Yeah.
it's almost like an assembly line at a factory where, like, I don't know, that I Love Lucy episode where the
The
chocolate,
candy's just
and it's just
flying off.
that's what I always tell people. Like, if you're not giving your gut that resting time, that's what's happening to that assembly line in your gut. It's constantly like working on digestion and not on the other functions. And so you start to get inflammation and bloating. So really restricting your eating times and eating better fiber, maybe a little bit less calories than you probably were able to get away with
Here's
before.
all the foods that you list in your book,
Yeah,
page
those are just like
149.
50, but they're more. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
more. They're more. But those are the ones that I have found are easily accessible, but also like really good for the gut.
Really good. I mean, I love what you're saying. It's there's a lot to take in because when I entered into this nutrition space 5 years ago, I was a nutritarian. So I ate beans, vegetables, lots of different kinds, the rainbow all the time. But then the whole protein thing started coming along, and then I started doing more weight training, and then balancing, but I did lose, get down to that weight that I really wanted to get to and felt comfortable with. And I've noticed that actually my weight's creeped up now that I'm so focused on protein, even though I'm still eating a lot of fiber, I'm not eating as many vegetables.
Yes.
I'm kind of cheating with the MenoWell bars, with my bars, I'm getting that fiber in there. But it's really interesting. I'm stronger. So,
Right.
it's tricky.
And again, I'm not saying don't eat protein. I'm just saying don't focus so much on protein because protein, I mean, everything has calories, right? But most people are probably eating a lot more protein than they actually need. And then, like protein bars are great, but they have calories, right? And everything has calories. And I'm not saying to actually count calories, but they do count.
Well, I
So,
would say look at the ingredients of the bars or, whatever however
Yeah.
you're consuming your protein, because I think we've gotten so protein obsessed that we're willing
Yeah.
to consume it in any format that may
Mhm.
or may not be very clean. So let's pay attention to that.
And I think also, as with a lot of things in health, is a lot of this protein craze is kind of geared towards men, and they have higher protein needs, right? And I think we lose muscle, right, as we age, and I think that's where that fear of making sure we have enough protein so that we don't lose muscle
And
uh,
fall. It kind of comes down
and
to that.
fall
And not
exactly.
fall, right?
And
Being
not
strong, not to
fall,
fall.
right, right.
Right.
But I think with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and by the way, I wanted to mention this. A lot of doctors are kind of like risk averse regarding this, and even I was up until 2 years ago when I just kind of started to learn a little bit more about bioidentical hormone replacement, and the fact that unfortunately we were kind of misguided 20 years ago with that study that came out that said it's bad. And there's so many women in that kind of age, right? Like right now, they're probably in their late 60s to 80s that missed out. And, the studies show repeatedly that bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is extremely safe. And a lot of OBGYNs are even reluctant. So I always say talk to your doctor. And if your doctor just dismisses it immediately and says no, then maybe ask around or ask your doctor to kind of research it a little bit more, because they may just be misinformed and still have the old data.
Yeah,
So
I come across that every single day, and that's why I'm so grateful for all the menopause focused telemed companies out there like Alloy and MIDI Health and lots of other Evernow, lots of other smaller all over menopause focused
yes, and a
practitioners.
lot of the doctors that are now teaching too. Like I have a really good friend, Dr. Salome, and anybody watching should follow her, Salome Mascotti. She kind of taught me a lot about hormones and not to be afraid of them. And I think she's doing a really good job in also educating women about it too. So I just say, you know what, like if your doctor immediately dismisses it without really assessing your risks properly, ask questions.
I say add on. It's like if you go back to your analogy about the corporation, you have more than
Yeah.
one department head. You have an executive team, and sometimes you need the doctor that delivered your baby or take care of your appointments may not be the doctor to get you through menopause, and that's no shade on your other doctor. It's
I agree with you
different
100%.
specialties.
I agree. And my background is a primary care doctor, internal medicine, even though I focus on gut now. But I tell women if they come and do you prescribe hormones, I'll say I don't prescribe them because I'm not an expert at them. But I think you should talk to your doctor about it because, like you said, I think we're all experts in something.
Right?
And I don't even necessarily blame the doctors that don't know, because
Not
like I
at
said, I
all.
look like this. I think we just need to kind of have a more open mind about it and
I
ask
agree.
questions. That's all. Be an advocate for your health. Go with your gut.
Go with your gut. I love that. I always say that. Just go with your
Yes.
gut. Okay, speaking of gut, make sure you get this book. It is a must have for everyone, for you, your entire family, The Gut Revolution. Um, okay, let's talk about brain fog, brain clarity, gut brain connection, please, because I'm telling you, that's the thing I have ongoing struggle with. Maybe because I feel like I'm doing so much mental heavy lifting all the time that some days the struggle is real. So
Yes.
let's talk about that, because I'm good. I'm a good eater most of the time when I'm not
Yeah.
overeating protein. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think, okay, again, so we talked about how the microbiome shifts during menopause when we get older. So you're losing some of these like beneficial bacteria, and they actually make neurotransmitters for our brain. So serotonin is made, a lot of it in our gut, some of it's made in our brain. Dopamine is made in our gut, part of it also. And so if we don't have enough of these bacteria to make these neurotransmitters, it's going to affect our mental health, right?
Mhm.
The other thing that affects our mental health is estrogen. So it also is anti-inflammatory in the brain. And it's important that we have, again, enough of all of these to support us. But again, we go back to intermittent fasting. And what happens is when people tell me I have brain fog in the morning, And I can't fast. I can't do it. And I say, well, the brain fog is not from you needing to eat. It's actually from glucose withdrawal. So your body has never tapped into these secondary mechanisms of glycogen burning and fat burning that it doesn't know what to do. So it's going through these like sugar withdrawals. And that's why you feel in the morning like I really need to eat. But I bet if you, I'm talking about like people without diabetes. Like if you're diabetic and you're on insulin, do not listen to this. But if you're someone who feels that way in the morning, it's probably related to sugar withdrawal. So again, try restricted time eating. I'm not saying go to 16 hours immediately, but try. Even if you do 12 hours of restriction, if you start at 12 hours where you're eating in a 12-hour period and fasting in a 12-hour period and then build it up, you'll find that you'll have a lot more energy. You'll have a lot more clarity in your brain because, again, ketones are better fuel. They're better fuel for our brain cells as well. But it's really important to also make sure that you're eating enough nutrients to make these neurotransmitters that are really important for our body and our brain. I mentioned serotonin, I mentioned dopamine, which we all kind of know. Dopamine is like that, it gives us the energy. If we're not making enough because we don't even have enough bacteria to make it, or we don't have the precursors in our food, we're not going to make enough dopamine. If we don't have enough tryptophan, for example.
So bacteria makes dopamine.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
We make dopamine in our brain and we make dopamine in our gut as well. And a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of our serotonin is made in our gut, but it actually stays in our gut. So serotonin helps with gut motility and it helps with muscle contraction. It also helps with our mental health that we know of also. But tryptophan is a precursor of serotonin, and that's an amino acid that is only present in food. Like we aren't even able to make it.
It's only present at Thanksgiving, right? When you eat.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of tryptophan in like meats, like turkey and all of that. But tryptophan is also present in bananas or walnuts, right? So this is why they say walnuts are so brain healthy because they're really rich in tryptophan. So they help us to make more serotonin. They also help us make melatonin. So if you find that you're not sleeping as well, melatonin might be deficient because the same amino acid that makes serotonin makes melatonin. So keep an eye on that, especially if you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're finding that, you really can't sleep. You might just be needing more tryptophan, and you get it from foods. Like don't supplement your way out of kind of like an unhealthy gut. Sleeping is really important too. So again, we're processing, right? Our gut is resting at nighttime. It's doing other functions, but our brain also needs to rest. So all of these things contribute to, brain fog and lack of mental clarity.
It feels so overwhelming. I know it isn't, but especially in midlife when things just are so complicated, our lives are complex. Maybe we're ushering kids out the door to college or taking care of parents, or just seems like so many things. But if we kind of boil it down, when we're eating whole foods, high fiber and protein, we can and not eating all day long, not grazing all night, not eating all night, giving our bodies a break, not eating too much, but eating enough calories, right? Because women suffer from the 80s of starving ourselves. We can solve a lot of that. It feels like we can make an impact.
Yeah, and I think just American society as a whole, like we're overworked. We eat really late, right, at night. I mean, a lot of us get home, we're not eating till 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then we're snacking after, and that's probably the worst thing you can do. Because again, our gut needs that time of rest during the night so we can process other things. So I think we need to kind of shift to a little bit more like other countries. Like I know in Africa and Europe, they eat earlier, like they eat their big meal during the day, and then they have something very light at nighttime. I think just in general, society used to do that. And I think we should really go back to that. And I think another really big important thing is planning. Just like you plan what you're going to wear tomorrow, you plan your investments, you plan your children's schedules during the week. You should really be planning your meals also for the week. For me, I think that's probably the most important factor in keeping me kind of like on the course of staying healthy during the week when I'm really busy. Is on the weekends, I will go to the store and buy those 30 different varieties of vegetables and fruits and beans. And I'll kind of plan out the meals for the day. And even if I don't cook everything,
Mhm.
on the weekend, the night before, it takes 20 to 30 minutes to prep, and you can do it while you're doing other stuff. And then at least the next day when you come home, you're not famished and ready to eat a horse.
Eating a horse or whatever just happens to
Whatever's
be
in the
in the
fridge.
way.
Exactly. Yeah.
I try to prep protein because that's where I can go off track. I can always find some vegetables and things like that to add, but and I keep a lot of frozen vegetables because if
Yeah.
I don't have fresh, then I know at least I have frozen. So they're not.
I think frozen is like I would say equivalent to fresh for
Right.
most.
I don't know. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like it. It's not Instagram worthy, but it works for me. It just works for me. So, but that
And
protein you get.
that's the other thing I try to stress. It's like, don't kill yourself over it. I mean, okay, what happens if you buy something and it has a seed oil? Like, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. Like, I feel like your body's able to really kind of take that occasional insult as long as it's not, consistent insult.
Right.
So
Chronic insulting
it's,
of
yeah,
ourselves.
it's made for resilience. So
Yes.
you treat it well 80% of the time. It's gonna be okay with the 20% occasional insult here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Really good.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you. You've already shared so many great tips, and if you really want all the scoop, get the book because it's great. But really quick, touch on cancer and gut health because I think that's a super important thing.
Yeah. So are we talking about bacteria and the gut microbiome?
Yeah,
Yes.
anything that you want to share based on
Yeah.
what you shared in the book. Yeah.
Right. So yes, there's so many things that can increase your risk of cancer. So I'm kind of just gonna like talk about a few things that I think most people don't realize. And one of them is eating late at night. So what the studies have shown is when we eat late at night or within 3 hours of sleeping, our risk of colon cancer, for example, increases
Mm.
because what we're seeing is when our gut, again, is like that backup assembly line, when our gut is not working on things that it should be working on during the night and working on digestion, then that other stuff backs up and it increases cancer risk. The other thing that we've noticed is, and we don't know everything about the gut, but what we do know is, again, diversity, which means a lot of bacteria. And we're never going to have like an all perfect gut where it's all beneficial bacteria. There's a little bit of bad, everywhere. And it's really more about just that balance. But when we eat certain foods and certain diets for prolonged periods, like processed foods and things like that, they kind of tip that scale where there's an imbalance in the gut, and then this is where it increases the risk. So I was talking about the high keto and high fat protein diet. So we know there's a bacteria called fusobacteria. So fusobacteria are present in our mouth, they're present in our gut. And in adequate levels, they're actually fine. But what we find is people who eat a lot of meat or a lot of animal protein in general, their levels of fusobacteria start to go up. And when that happens, it kind of tips that scale and their cancer risk increases. Or even, this is another very controversial thing because I know there are a lot of people that are like very pro Akkermansia. Have you heard of Akkermansia?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so Akkermansia is a bacteria that studies have shown is like more common in people who are thin, and it's actually beneficial. And if you don't have a lot of Akkermansia and bifidobacteria together, your likelihood of being overweight is a lot more. So people who are thinner have more bifidobacteria, and they also have more Akkermansia. So Akkermansia is great, but in small doses. So if you have too much Akkermansia, what happens is, again, it tips that kind of scale. And what we've seen is too much Akkermansia in the gut increases your risk of cancer. So again, it's more about just like a very balanced diet. Like I always say, a Mediterranean style diet is really the best.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about colon cancer, but again, this kind of also helps with cancer everywhere in the body, because cancer in the body is really your cells and your mitochondria not being able to repair themselves like they should. And
Overgrown, can't repaired,
exactly,
can't
exactly.
be removed from the body.
Right.
Right? Okay.
And the really, like, if I were to say there's one thing that you should, or okay, let's do two things where you really like should do that can decrease your cancer risk, is not eating late at night and restricting your eating times. Those right there make a difference, because again, when the cells are depleted of fuel and your body is forced to fuel through other sources and get rid of these other cells that are dysfunctional, that decreases your cancer risk. So those two things right there are really important.
Huge.
And
So
obviously don't use sugar.
Yeah, and then not the sugar part.
Alcohol too.
Oh yeah, yeah. That for sure, especially
Yes.
midlife, our bodies don't like it anymore. Very not good. We
No.
we don't metabolize it well. So.
Exactly. The shift in the microbiome, your body's not able to metabolize alcohol as well as it used to. And not that alcohol is ever really like meant to be metabolized in large doses, but no, it's alcohol is the elephant in the room. Everybody, like no one wants to hear that it's unhealthy, but alcohol is linked to a lot of different cancers.
Mm-hmm.
So
we know that.
Yep.
That's one thing I don't have to deal with. It's not.
Me too. I just don't like the taste. I never liked it. Right.
Okay. Whew. But not eating at night, that's really, really great, because that, when you don't eat at night, that lets our body do what it needs to do to take care of itself. Simple.
Our immune system, like our gut and our immune system, has several functions. And if the function it's focused on is digestion, it's not going to get to the other functions. And then that's a backup of cells.
Backup of cells.
Yeah.
Write that down, people. We don't want our cells backed up. That's no bueno. Okay. So good. So the fact that I like to eat dinner at like 4:30, I'm starting to think like, oh, I wish I could have dinner now. Like, I'm not like old lady blue light special. Can I eat at 5? I'm so happy.
I eat early, and I mean, I'm perfectly fine. My family knows I'll sit with you and eat. You want to eat a little later, but I tell my kids, like, don't eat late at night. And they come home at like 10 and they're like, I'm really hungry. I'm like, don't eat. Just morning.
Kids, your sons, you said?
I have 3. Yeah. So
I know, and those young men are starving, especially if they're coming home from practice. So
yes, it's funny because my son was probably the unhealthiest of my 3 growing up, and the pickiest. And now he's so dedicated to eating healthy, and he's a runner and a swimmer too. And he's completely transformed his body. I mean, he was like a little chubby little boy. And he's 6'2" and very fit. And I mean, he does not put garbage in his body. He's very meticulous about what he eats, but not obsessive. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I'm like, Matthew, like, what do you think shifted? And he says, I noticed that it really helps when I eat healthy for focusing and being able to study, but also just like my energy level is so much better, and I feel better.
He's an athlete.
He's an athlete, and if anyone's listening with young kids, put your kids in sports. That's probably one of the most important things you can do for them. Even if they're not good at it, it doesn't really matter. Just let them do after school stuff, because if they're coming home, they're going to eat junk and they're going to sit and do nothing. So
very true. I've been there, done that. 3 up and out, all doing something every day.
That's amazing. I'm an empty nester this year too, which is it's good and bad.
It's good.
I don't mind.
Besides, they don't go far. They're home. Like, as soon as you send them off, you do all the whole thing, move them in somewhere. They're home for Thanksgiving, then they're home for the holidays. Don't worry.
Absolutely. I know. I agree.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I know I've kept you so long. If you have any last tips that we haven't talked about, because we've talked about so many things, is there anything you would love to share or leave with our listeners?
Gut health wise, or just kind of overall?
I'll let you decide.
Yeah. I would say, like, be easy on your body and don't expect so much from it that you become obsessive, but also understand your body and realize that it wants to, like, it's all about survival. So just kind of make it your friend, I guess I would say. Like, just feed it well, make it happy and like thriving and have energy, and it'll pay you back. So
I love that. Like, feed it like it's your bestie. Yeah.
There you go. I like that. Yes. Make your body your bestie. My book, it says, make your body the best doctor. So I guess that's.
I love that. Okay, everyone. Oops. I know it always shows reverse on Instagram, but it's not reverse in real life. It is the gut revolution. Change your gut, Change Your Life by the amazing Christine Bishara, MD. It is a must-have. It is a must-have. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for shifting what you were doing to such an important topic. Not that that wasn't important, but wow, 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 wow. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Julie.
All right, be well, and I'll see you around maybe when I'm in Manhattan
I
soon.
was going to say, text me
Okay.
when you're in New York City, and maybe we can meet up.
Okay, I would love it. We'll eat some vegetables.
Yes.
Be well.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.